How's it going, ladies and bruises? I'm Poppy Sixkilla. Welcome back to episode 17. We are working our way towards Coco's ending from Kid's side, but we are Takeshi now because, well, you would have watched the last episode. Let's just get into it, shall we? If you haven't watched the last episode, you should probably do that first because shit gets complicated already. Coming out of my reveries, I noticed the scene had changed a bit. You and the kid had taken off somewhere. Maybe gone to the rest area next door. It's only been 2 days and so much has happened. Just being trapped here is an unusual state of affairs. I said these words to myself without thinking. Just then... Suddenly a low metallic sound reverberated throughout the installation. It was a dull, muffled sound. What was that? This whole place just shook a little. Sora? Sora? Coco ran over to Sora. Clutched to her chest was Pee-Pee. Coco was hugging him so hard he seemed about to rupture. Hey, did something just happen? It was an awful sound just now. One of the shafts that supports this floor has started to bend out of alignment. It appears as if the ocean currents may have caused it. How dangerous are we talking about here? Well, it should be within a margin of error, but... No, wait a second. There is an anomaly in one of the pressure-regulating pipes at Whitestock's warehouse. What are pressure-regulating pipes? The pipelines are responsible for adjusting the pressure inside the multi-layered bulkheads comprising Lamo. The anomaly is only slight, so you shouldn't have to hurry, but I think it's best if someone goes to check on it. Would you please go for me? If any of them should rupture, for whatever reason, I'm incapable of repairing them. Would you please go for me? Sure, leave it to me. I'll go too. Tsugumi, you sure? Well, if we're gonna fix something, we'll need tools, right? I know my way around a workshop. Alright, let's go. I'll help too. Woof. Okay, you can come too, Coco. By the way, does anyone know where you and the kid went? You and the kid are in the security office. What the heck are they doing there? They are trying to make contact with Le MMIH. With Le MMIH? What am I thinking? I got other things to worry about. Alright, the three of us are going to the warehouse. Sora, give you and the kid an update on the situation, will you? Understood. We opened the door to the storage room to find the floor covered in water. The water level had come up to the tops of my shoes. From the back of the room, we could hear a hissing sound coming from somewhere. The sound drew our attention. There was a faint crack in the pressure regulating pipe, and water was dancing out of it in a fine mist. If that was all it was, it didn't seem like we had anything to worry about. It seemed like we'd be able to fix it in no time. Tsugumi had opened up the toolbox and was in the corner of the room and started spreading a few tools out in front of her. What do we need to do? The pipe is bent a little. I'm going to clamp the metal sleeve on it. Would you support the pipe for me? Roger that. What should I do? On the other side of there should be a valve attached to this pipe. You see it? I want you to loosen that a bit. Okay, gotcha. In this way, the three of us started working in unison. We opened and closed the valves on a number of pipes, reattached pipes, and welded shut cracks. Takeshi, don't just stand there. On to the next pipe. Huh? Oh, okay. First, take that blue valve and... After that, I want you to turn the red valve. We'd fixed a number of pipes, but the sound of escaping steam still hadn't stopped. Alright, Coco. Wait just a bit. Okay, I'm ready. Takeshi, move the valves in the order I told you now. Hey, you listening, Takeshi? Yeah, alright, I'm sorry. Red then blue, right? Yeah, loosen then shut them again. I set myself upon the blue valve in front of me. I was supposed to loosen this. I was supposed to turn this counterclockwise, yeah. I turned the blue valve with all my strength. The sound of rushing steam grew softer. Alright, next close the red valve. The steam dancing from the pipe grew weaker. Alright, that does it. Okay. Coco, hold on just a bit longer. Okay. Holding up her left hand to shield her face, Tsugumi operated the welding torch with her right hand. The crack in the pipe closed visibly. Takeshi, after I weld this on, I want you to return the valves to their original positions right away. Okay. Tsugumi finished welding. Now, turn it back on, fast. Alright, jeez. I quickly turned the valves in the opposite direction. I could feel the steam flowing through the valve. Coco, this pipe's done. On to the next one. Okay, where was it? Hold on just a second. The water underfoot still hadn't gone down at all, and was swirling around. The air conditioner on the wall was sucking in water and gurgling it out. It appeared it also had shorted out. I could see blue-white sparks jumping around inside. I hope it doesn't shock me. As soon as I thought this, it sounded like the air conditioner was about to break apart. Smoke started pouring from the exhaust vent, and from the intake port, murky water started gurgling out. The area around my legs was quickly getting grimy. Water. The water that was in the suction pipe is starting to backflow. Be careful. My leg got caught in a jet of muddy water and I lost my balance. I reached out to grab something. I caught onto onto a stack of crates and containers that lay nearby. Oh, this is going to get Tsugumi hurt again. Made an ominous sound. My body draped awkwardly over the containers. Everything's, like, the same, but slightly different. I lifted my gaze. The top of the stack was wobbling precariously. I looked to Tsugumi. Our eyes met. She was frozen in place, holding her breath. I shot a glance over to Coco. She had her back turned to me and was grabbing onto a pipe. I looked up at the ceiling again. It all happened in an instant. The containers, having lost their balance, started to rain down. Chunks of metal, rusted pipes, thick iron cylinders. There was no sound. I perceived everything in vivid slow motion. Countless pieces of metal all pouring down quietly. Although my mind was spinning, my body couldn't catch up. I couldn't talk, I couldn't move. Crashing metal. A raging monster, with its sight fixed on that small frame. Pouncing, devouring. All of it headed for... Coco? Coco? Huh? Did Tsugumi save her this time? The sight that flashed before me was a mountain of metal. Old pipes broke apart into 1,000 pieces. The containers splintered apart, their sharp corners flashing. I landed in the water. I'd thrown myself out of the way, arms and legs flailing. The pipes on the wall were cracked. They'd been damaged from the shock. And out of the cracks, water was gushing out. All full and nearby was... Fulham was... Tsugumi. I ran over to see how she was. Coco looked around at the spectacle and hugged Pipi to her tightly, her hands trembling. Yes, I'd seen it all. Just before the metallic objects had crashed down on Coco's back, Tsugumi had thrust her out of the way. She protected her while risking her own life. Ah! A metal shard had dug deeply into Tsugumi's right thigh. Didn't look like she could move. I guess I messed up. Tsugumi grimaced and pushed down on the wound. She was losing a lot of blood. The murky water was getting redder by the moment. Hey, you okay? Does this look okay to you? Always asking stupid questions. Stop laughing, I'm gonna get that stuff off you, just wait. I tried to lift the metal off her, but no matter how hard I tried, the heavy chunk wouldn't budge. Damn it! Looks like it's no use. In the meantime, the water level had risen from ankle to knee height. Tsugumi? Coco started to rush over to Tsugumi. Get away from me. Stung by Tsugumi's cold words, Coco stiffened and stopped. Get out of here, Coco. You too, Takeshi, get out where you can. At this rate, the room's partitions won't last. You'll die if you stay. So hurry. Get out of here. But, stupid idiot, you think I can just leave you? There's nothing you can do, right? I'm stuck here. And with this injury, you can't help me anyway. Shut up. I roared out. I won't let you give up on me now, damn it. Hey, Coco, what are you standing there for? What? Yes. Get on that intercom and contact the others. With all of her might, Coco moved her trembling legs to get closer to the intercom. It's no use, it's broken. I push the button, but nothing happens. So run up and tell the others to get over here. Okay, I'm going. Although she looked flustered, Coco nodded and ran off. The door to the warehouse closed. Soon the water came up to the bottom of the door. The water continued to rise. From her waist down, Tsugumi was almost completely underwater. The water level was almost over my knees. What are you trying to prove? It doesn't mean anything, just leave. I don't want you here. I wouldn't be here if there wasn't a reason. I can't just leave you here. Why not? I've taken nothing but abuse from you, and you still haven't thanked me properly yet. Oh really? Well, that's reason enough, I suppose. Tsugumi laughed weakly. Her lips were trembling. The murky water was spreading. It's gotten cold in here. Alright, Tsugumi, I need you to stay with me now. I chose my words as carefully as possible. I'm perfectly sane. You'll be okay. The wound isn't that deep, so don't worry. I was lying. Even I could tell her wound was life-threatening. Tsugumi's white femur had broken through and protruded from her flesh. You'll be okay. What makes you think that? You're the one who's crazy. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I wasn't paying attention and got you hurt. The water level was rising to up to Tsugumi's head. A section of the partitioning had broken and seawater was rushing in. The water was ice cold. The water volume increased mercilessly. Her face contorted with pain. In agony, she laboured for breath. There wasn't any time. Making up my mind, I dove into the water. I couldn't open my eyes. All I could do was search the bottom using my intuition. Damn it! Using all my strength, I heaved up the large mass of metal sticking to Tsugumi's leg. Aided slightly by the buoyancy of the water, the metal hunk moved slightly. Tsugumi pulled her leg out at once. I lifted my face out of the water, gulping greedily for air. The flooding wouldn't stop. The water level was already above my shoulders. You were such a stubborn idiot. Shut up and just keep quiet. With her leg injured, there was no way Tsugumi could swim. Holding onto her, I headed for the exit. But the door was already underwater. Look, there's no way you can save me. I told you to keep quiet. There's got to be another exit. I'll look for that. It'll be okay. We'll find a way out of this. There you go again, saying it'll be okay. You're so irresponsible. Would you keep quiet? I probably could have forced open the door if I'd tried, but that would have put the second floor in danger of flooding. I searched desperately for an emergency exit. My legs wouldn't touch the floor. I could hardly breathe. I was at my limit. There's a ladder. In the corner of the room, there's a ladder. We can use it to get to the emergency passage. We're gonna make it, Tsugumi. I burst into the infirmary. I set the injured Tsugumi down on the bed. She was no longer conscious. She'd lost so much blood. We had to take emergency measures immediately. Hey, what are we gonna do? Get out of the way. You, who'd been waiting in the room, pushed me out of the way. A tourniquet was taken from a rack of medical instruments on the wall and fastened around Tsugumi's thigh. This is bad. What's the status? How bad is it? Can we use the scanner to check it out? I pointed to the LMRI. It doesn't work. Sora already told us it's broken. Oh yeah. Well, what can we do? What do we... I'll have a look. Sora put her hand on Tsugumi. A holographic window appeared in the air. A small sensor or camera started moving on the ceiling. Well, this is just a bioscan, so I can't tell for certain, but her femur is fractured, and it looks like it might be compound. That and the artery is severed. She'll need sutures. I've stitched up my finger before. It was with a survival kit, but... Well, you think you can assist me? I'll do my best. Do we have anesthetic? I'll get it ready. The laser scalpel, forceps, and sutures. Everything we need is already in the room. Sora moved the electric wagon and used its robotic arm to gather the necessary surgical tools. Yu flipped up Tsugumi's skirt and fearlessly plunged her hand into the wound. Takeshi, you're in the way. Yu pointed angrily at the exit. Oh yeah, sorry, take care of her, okay? Leave it to me. You looked determined to show all what she was capable of. As soon as I left the tense atmosphere of the emergency room, my fatigue hit me. I set myself down on a nearby chair. Is Tsugumi gonna be... Coco was holding onto Pee-Pee, but looking as if she was having a hard time relaxing. You let them know right away, so she should be fine. Really? Coco's eyes were moist. It was hard to tell, but she'd probably been crying moments earlier. Even still, she tried to smile. Hey, you think Tsugumi's gonna be okay, right? Still looking worried, she tilted her head as she asked me. Yeah, she'll be fine. Absolutely okay. Coco put her hand on my shoulder. I held Coco close and patted her head softly. She's gonna be okay, right? Right? Her body trembling, she asked me this over and over. I thought maybe she'd been trying not to cry until that moment. Coco, head pressed against my cheek, started crying. Aww. So this... Oh my god, now we're back to Kid again. What is going on? Is this like... I don't know. I really... We're in the same situation, but now we're Kid. Huh? Kid, what are you crying about? Huh? Did someone pick on you? I know, it's Takeshi, isn't it? I shook my head back and forth. So it's Naki then? I kept shaking my head. Alright then, Tsugumi. That should have been the first choice. Again, I shook my head back and forth. Well, it couldn't be Sora. No, nobody's picking on me. So why are you crying then? It's... I was looking wildly around in all directions. We were in front of the emergency room. Sora was standing right in front of me. But I didn't see anyone else. I said nothing, but ran into the room. No one was there. She wasn't lying on the examination table. Hey, why'd you run away? Sora's eyebrows were raised questioningly. I didn't run away. I just wanted to check something is all. What? I stood on the side of the table and slid my hand across its surface. There was no warmth. Her femur is fractured, and it looks like it might be compound. That and the artery is severed. She'll need sutures. I'll do my best. Do we have anesthetic? I'll get it ready. The laser scalpel, forceps, and sutures. Everything we need is already in the room. Takeshi, you're in the way. All these voices jump back and forth in my head. Voices. 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 I twisted my head and turned, looking around the inside of the emergency room. Looking slowly. The noise from before seemed like a dream. Seemed? What am I thinking? It was only a dream. Just a dream. Hey, tell me. What did you want to check? I looked straight into Sarah's eyes and answered. I wanted to see if it was real or a dream. What? I had a terrible dream. What about? Tsugumi hurt her leg real bad. there was flooding in the storage area, and when she went to fix it, a big chunk of metal fell on her. And then Tsugumi, her leg got trapped by the metal. And she got a huge gash on her right thigh. I could see the yellow of her fat, the red colour of her muscle and white bone. Her artery, lymph nodes and nerve endings all hanging out and pulsating like rubber tubes. Thanks for that. Needed that image. The whole area was covered in a sea of blood. Ew. Makes me feel sick just hearing about it. You didn't have to describe it like that. How can you talk about that kind of dream so calmly? It's not as if I wanted to see it. So that's why you decided to run into here all of a sudden? Well, I guess it's possible that you'd start bawling your head off after seeing a dream like that. Bawling? Was I crying? Of course you were, like a hysteric 3-year-old. That's when I realised. On my cheeks and chin there was something that felt cold. There was a small drop of moisture sparkling on my eyelash. I hurriedly wiped away my tears. So I had been crying. It had all happened while I was sleeping, so I had no idea I'd been crying. Hey kid, something bothers me. You just said the warehouse started flooding, right? Yeah? That actually happened. What? When you were sleeping, a pipe burst in the storage room and water started flooding in. When I was sleeping. What was that supposed to mean? I couldn't fully grasp what was going on from what I'd heard. My mind froze. But don't worry, okay? I've got it fixed without any hitches. What about Tsugumi? I didn't think it was possible, but I asked anyway. She's fine, of course. She did most of the repairing. Really? For some reason I felt relieved. I wondered if it was because my dream had been so real. No, wait. Dream? Why would I have a dream about the warehouse flooding? I was sleeping. As though she'd read my thoughts, Sarah said. But still, it's kind of strange, you know? You didn't have an out-of-body experience, did you? She said that as if she was making fun of me. But honestly, Sarah probably didn't take the possibility seriously. My mind, it's like our mind is jumping from body to body, timeline to timeline, you know? Into Kid, and then back into Takeshi, back into Kid. My mind was turning slowly, but hadn't started working normally yet. Something was preventing me from thinking. Out-of-body experience? If I could do that, I could peep down girls' underwear all I wanted. I made a stab at a joke. The fact that I could do so surprised me somewhat. Moron. Even if you could look up somebody's skirt, you don't look down people's underwear. Sarah whacked me on the head a couple of times. Thinking the whole situation odd, I started to laugh. Hey, you seem like you're doing better. Sounds like it. Sounds like we're turning into Takeshi after all. I was really worried last night that you were going to die or something. You seem just fine now. Well, you don't remember? You fell over and were foaming at the mouth. Oh, when we saw ourselves in the mirror. What? Yeah, and you were flailing around on the ground like an upside-down crab. Snip, snip. By the time Takeshi called us together, you were already like that. So all we could do was pick you up and carry you into this infirmary. Got it? I got it. You probably don't remember, but it was really intense. You really had us worried there. Sora slapped me gently on the cheek. My head turned to the side with the force, and from that position I asked, Hey, where was I passed out? In the changing room, in front of the mirror. Changing room. It was a rectangular room, and stuck to the back wall was a lot. We shouldn't do this again. Is this how we can jump back and forth between timelines through the mirror? Or was it just the shock that caused us to jump? The bench had been returned to its original position. I walked up to the mirror. I didn't recognize my face. I didn't recognize this kid. I touched my eyebrow with my right hand. He touched his eyebrow with his left hand. A, B, C, D, E. The sounds that I uttered came to my ears. The kid in the mirror mouthed the exact same words, but of course, I couldn't hear his voice. I reached out my left hand to touch him. He put out his right hand and did the same thing. My nails hit the hard surface of the glass with a click. But I couldn't reach him. Looking closely, I could see a face floating over his left shoulder. Two pairs of eyes stared intensely at me. It had to be an evil spirit. Maybe he was even being possessed. That's so sad. He's been taken over by a demon. And as soon as I said that to myself, I realized that he was looking at me. What? I'm being possessed. Hey. Sarah. I jumped about 3 feet in the air, bending backwards as I leapt. When did you get here? Tis but a simple thing to conceal the pitter-patter of my steps. Oh yeah, she's a ninja, I forgot. Really? Apparently the person who'd been looking over my shoulder was Sarah. Well, you didn't say anything. You just took off. Again. So you went and followed me? Yeah. Sora grabbed onto her tied-up hair with both hands and was swinging it back and forth. So what's with the mirror? She pointed to the mirror with the tip of her hair. Well what? I pulled Sarah by the arm over to stand in front of the mirror. Both of our images were reflected on the mirror's surface. The left and right side of her face was reflected back in reverse, but there was no mistaking it was her. My face, on the other hand. Hey, who's that reflected in the mirror? Huh? I don't understand the question. This kid. The kid standing next to you. Who was he? Huh. You started with this again, huh? Come on, I'm being serious. Is this really my face? Well, if it isn't your face, whose face is it? I guess you're right. I knew the answer, but I still needed to check. The kid was me. The face reflected in the mirror was mine. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. But I'm also not fine. Which one is it? The pouting Sarah was in the mirror. I looked at her figure in the reflection. She looked back at me. Our gazes intersected and overlapped at the same space. At the same time. I couldn't remember my own face. I can remember and I still can't remember it. Of course, I understand that the person reflected in the mirror is me. But how can I say it? It doesn't feel real. I see. That's why I passed out in front of the mirror last night. The face reflecting back at me in the mirror felt like someone else, someone I didn't know. But that should be enough to make you foam at the mouth, don't you think? I mean, if you looked into the mirror and suddenly you were hopelessly ugly, even I would faint, but your face isn't that bad. I mean, you'd think you'd be pretty relieved and think, you know, I've got a pretty nice looking face. Sora glanced at the mirror and took a good look at my face. I mean, if I had to say one way or the other, I like your face. Well, we're brother and sister, you should. Because if I'm ugly, you're probably ugly. You know? And so saying, Sarah pointed the tip of her hair at me. Do you know why? I think you look a little like me. Look like? I look like you? I stared intently at Sarah's face. You don't think so? Suddenly, a vast whirling pattern came into my mind. It spun round and round, paralyzing my ability to think. I don't think. It took all my will to mumble just that. Really? I think our eyes look the same. Hey, why are you making such a sour face? I'm giving you a compliment. Or maybe I guess you could say I'm giving myself a compliment. Sarah started smiling shyly, and then all of a sudden she tickled my nose with the tip of her hair. Hey, what are you doing? I jumped back and away from her. Sarah was my favourite right from the start. She's fantastic. Sarah smiled mischievously. The smell of her hair seeped into my mind. It was a smell somehow so familiar, almost animal and private. The conference room. I was sitting in a chair, stuffing my mouth with the chicken witch sand. I'd grown bored of the chicken sandwiches, so I invented my own version. A slice of bread between two pieces of meat. It was definitely a needed change of pace. Sarah was sitting directly in front of me. Sarah was eating lettuce straight from the head of lettuce with nothing but ketchup as a topping. That sounds fucking awful. Look at it. Muttering in a voice so small I could barely hear, she was saying, I'm not getting enough vegetables. I'm just not getting enough vegetables. So, is this place gone insane? So, where'd everyone else run off to? With ketchup smeared around her lips, Sarah answered me. Sora's in the control room, Naki's in the security office. As for Takeshi, I saw him riding the merry-go-round, goofing off by himself. As for Tsugumi, MIA as usual. Now that the repairs in the warehouse are finished, I guess everyone's taking a breather. What do you plan next, Sarah? Nothing special, really. Maybe I'll just sit here and eat and wait to be rescued while I eat this lettuce. Sarah kept munching the lettuce, making a crunching sound as she bit into the core. By the way, Sarah, what were you doing up until now? Watching over you, kid. Watching over me? Last night, after we carried you to the infirmary, we all took turns watching you. We were worried you might suddenly go on a rampage or something, so we took every precaution. And until a minute ago, it was my turn to watch. Except in the split second I turned my back. And you up and disappeared. I wondered what was going on, and left the infirmary to find you when you found me crying. That's right. Finishing off my sandwich, I reached over to the lettuce in Sarah's hands and ripped off a leaf. Using my index finger, I wiped off some excess ketchup smeared around Sarah's mouth. Dabbed it on my lettuce and ate it. What should I do next? I muttered to myself. Just sitting here is getting boring. Oh, we get options? I didn't think there were more options. I'm gonna save. This could be important. This could be important. I mean, I always say that, but you never know. Let's stick with Sarah. Sarah's great. Well, I guess I'll take Sarah to visit at the warehouse. I mean, she just reaffirmed herself as being the best character by sitting there eating a lettuce covered in ketchup. Had there really been an accident? Where she'd flooded the warehouse? I wanted to see for myself. Sarah? Yeah? Think you could join me for a bit? Okay, but do you mind waiting until I'm through with my lettuce? Sarah spoke with her face still covered in ketchup. Sure. I decided to wait for Sarah to finish her meal. While waiting, I asked her a question. So tell me, why ketchup and not dressing? Her answer was straightforward. Because I like tomatoes. They taste like the sun, don't you think? No. Well, I mean, I've never eaten the sun. Inside of the warehouse, the air was filled with sticky human smell. And the floor was covered with enough water to just cover our shoes. Around the room lay pipes, many of which looked to have been recently welded to repair damage. So there really was some kind of flooding here. Huh. Didn't you believe me when I told you? Of course I believed you, but there's a difference between hearing something and seeing it for yourself. I mean, there's way more impact. Impact? You know, the impact from realizing I saw all this in a dream. Like a premonition. Well, I don't know if I could really call it a premonition or not, but... I mean, Tsugumi didn't get hurt, right? Yeah. And besides, I said this and stopped, sweeping my eyes across the room. The scene was almost exactly as I had dreamed it, but one thing was different. There had been a pile of scrap material stacked high, but now it was stacked on the floor. In my dream, the warehouse was completely submerged in water. But by the looks of it here, everything seems fine. I wonder if you could still call that a premonition. Beats me, I've had no idea about things like that. Sarah? Was the warehouse arranged like this from the start? Huh? See those containers and metal pipes lined up over there? I asked her while pointing to the rows of scrap metal. Were those stacked up on the tall pile before? I can't expect you to remember all the details. Yeah, I guess you're right. Besides, at one point, nothing else seemed out of place. Except I was amazed how calm I felt analysing the situation. Premonitions, the Phantom Girl, the Mirror Affair, amnesia. Considering the countless number of strange things I'd experienced, I was surprisingly calm. Not thinking such strange events as strange was strange in itself strange. I was just desensitized. Why was I just desensitized? Was I just desensitized to everything? Fuck, I couldn't even that sentence. Not even once. Well, maybe I'd just never been the type to think too deeply about things. Maybe I'm a dumb fuck. Who knows? I don't know why, but I felt fine about the situation. I walked a loop through the entire warehouse and returned to where I started, only to find Sarah was gone. At that moment, I heard a sound, like something pounding powerfully against a steel wall. I searched for the origin of the sound. A small door suddenly jumped into my field of vision. In front of the door stood Sarah. Sarah? I let out a yell and ran to her. What happened? I asked her, standing at Sarah's side. Nothing, what do you mean? Sarah acted like there was nothing out of the ordinary. In fact, she seemed so normal that normal didn't begin to describe it well enough. The bashing sound continued unabated. It was coming from beyond the door. It sounded like someone was throwing their body against the door. And they weren't holding back. It's an explosive force, almost animal. Is this from when Kid was doing it? But where Kid? Remember Kid slammed himself against that door as he had the memories about him and Sarah being locked up in that facility? But now where Kid? Is there two of us? The sound reverberated to the core of my body, rattling my brain. Who is it? Hey, who's there? I yelled at the door. What? Confused, Sarah reached out and touched the door panel. The door opened. Nobody's in here. The room inside was dark, but even before I turned on the lights, I could tell that there was no one inside. So then, what was the noise just now? I turned around and looked at Sarah. What is it this time? I have no clue what you're talking about. What do you mean, no clue? I'm just asking, what was that noise just now? What noise? A noise, noise. The sound of someone ramming into the door? That noise? I'm tired. What? No, really, I'm tired of putting up with you. Sarah said this to me with a scornful look on her face. What are you talking about? That's exactly what I want to ask you. What are you talking about? First you knew my name, then you predict the future, and you see little girls who aren't there, And when you look into a mirror, you think you're a different person, and now you're hearing sounds that aren't there. I'm sorry, but I can't just keep putting up with this. Hearing sounds that aren't there? You mean you couldn't hear it, Sarah? I shouldn't have to answer, but no, I didn't hear it. So why are you standing in front of that door? Like I've been saying, no special reason. I was just wondering what's beyond that door, that's all. Are you serious? Why would I lie about something like that? If there was a place on a map that you'd never been to, wouldn't you want to go there? If it was an unopened treasure box, wouldn't you want to open it? If there was a person in the town that you lived in who you'd never talked to before, wouldn't you want to say something to that person? I see. Sarah's discomfort showed clearly on her face. Her eyes were frightened. So I don't know what came over me. I decided to play it off by laughing. Not thinking strange events as strange was becoming not so strange after all. When enough coincidences happen one after the other, they stop being coincidence and start becoming unavoidable. What's more, having encountered strange phenomena so often, they seemed like old acquaintances. I started to think that nothing could faze me. What a time to suddenly become philosophical. Spiritual awakening, enlightenment, nirvana. I felt like there was nothing left to be afraid of. My laughing voice reverberated throughout the room. Ouch, that really hurts. It seems my laughing had only proved to increase Sarah's frustration and doubt in me, but I didn't care. And the look she gave me, well, it was like I was some kind of weirdo. It didn't bother me either. I began to dance lightly, circling around the small room like some Polynesian tribal dancer. But it made me dizzy, so I stopped. That was funny. Out of breath, I leaned against the nearest wall for support. In front of me, I noticed a small square window. From outside the window, the faint moonlight shone in. Huh? Moonlight? Sarah must have noticed the direction of my gaze because she began to walk toward the window. Speaking toward her backside, I said, "Why would there be a window in a place like this?" Huh? Sarah's feet stopped. "This looks like a window to you?" she said as she spun around. "It isn't a window?" "Because the light." "Light?" Sarah shuffled backwards and planted her back against the wall. "You just said light, didn't you?" Yeah. It looks like it's shining light to you." As if called by the light, I began to walk toward it. I knocked a few times against the window with my knuckles. I stopped in front of the window, except it wasn't a window at all. It was a steel door buried in the wall. "Hey, will you answer my question? Does it look like a light is shining?" "Yes, it does." She has that power too, though, remember? We both have it, because we're brother and sister. Sarah stood beside me and put her hand on the steel door. I also reached out and placed the flat of my hand on the door. The door seemed to sizzle with a penetrating heat. Without changing our pose, our eyes met. Sarah started to speak but hesitated. "That's right, we can see infrared, right?" Then she opened her lips and tried again, but stammered. Her breathing became rough. She seemed a little agitated. A red light seemed to emanate from her body. "So why does it look like it's shining?" It was a very innocent, almost naive question. Without answering me, Sarah removed her hand from the door. I removed mine as well. 2 faint handprints were left imprinted on the square steel door. "Kid, can you see this?" Muttering, Sarah gently removed something from her pocket. A flame burned. In an instant, the whole scene changed and Sarah's face was lit up in red. I realized that what Sarah had taken out of her pendant was a pendant and lighter. Without saying a word, Sarah brought the flame and the pendant in front of my eyes. Inside the pendant floated a holographic image of a man who I'd never seen before. "Who's this?" When I asked her, Sarah's hand began to quiver. The flame shimmered, and from this large shadow was projected on the wall, which also flickered. So, you can see it too. Click. Sarah shut the lighter. "Kid, the other day, when Naki tried to open the door to the generator room, you stopped her, right?" "Yeah." "How come? Why did you stop her?" "Wait, hold on a second. Were you just telling me how tired you were of all my premonitions and illusions?" "Premonitions? So that was a premonition?" "I can't say. I mean, I don't really know. It's just that I thought it would be dangerous for her to open the door." Sarah looked at the ceiling. She then looked at the square door on the wall. When her pendant held tightly in her hand, she finally looked slightly upward into my eyes. There was a long silence. Sarah looked deep in thought, or maybe as though she wasn't thinking anything. The only sound was her steady, measured breaths. At last she spoke. "Yeah, it couldn't be, right?" Sarah took a deep breath and put away the lighter and pendant. We left the room. Sarah took a big stretch. I repeated my question to her. "Sarah, whose image was that in the pendant?" As she walked toward the exit, she answered, A person from the sun. After that, Sarah and I headed to the conference room. We didn't have any specific objective in mind. Actually, we'd made for the conference room because we didn't have any objective. It wasn't that anyone had said we would meet there. Somehow it just seemed like our meeting place and hangout. That's where we always meet up, yeah. We were all there. Sora and Takeshi teased me, saying that the night before I'd been flailing around like a crab on its back. They said that I'd worried them, but they thought I looked better. It was almost exactly the same thing I'd heard from Sarah. They asked why I'd gone crazy when I saw the mirror, but I avoided giving a clear-cut answer. I didn't think that I could get them to understand the situation as complex as that by telling them the real reason. It appeared that Takeshi and Sora were satisfied with my evasive explanation. And then, small talk started. Strangely, we only talked idly, gossiping about things and not touching on Lemieux at all. We talked about the best movies we'd seen, and why whales strain themselves on the beach in groups, and what was the truth behind the assassination of JFK, as well as whether forks or chopsticks were better. Topics changed often and we talked about a wide range of things from the serious to the silly. In short, we were just killing time. We tried to fill in the time by keeping our mouths moving. I didn't participate much in the conversation, I just kind of nodded from time to time and laughed along with everyone. And it's not that I was necessarily thinking about anything else, I just thought of it as a painless way to kill time. In the group there was one other person who was just as quiet as myself, even more so, since she didn't open her mouth once. It was Tsugumi. Tsugumi looked as furious as ever. She had a constantly dissatisfied look, making it seem as if she'd been dissatisfied from the day she was born and was probably destined to stay that way. I figured if she were that annoyed, she shouldn't come to where everyone had gathered. But of course, I couldn't say that to her. Tsugumi glanced at me at a rate of once every 2 minutes. In the afternoon, 2 days before, the 1st of May, she'd been short with me. She told me not to talk to her. However, her look at me about once every 2 minutes was totally at odds with those words. She seemed like a sign saying, "Speak with me." Her glances unnerved me, and I was unable to focus my attention on the conversation. Eventually, the 4 others got tired of talking and gradually the conversation slowed down. Finally, the talk ground to a halt completely. 5 hours had passed since we came to the conference room. Alright, we need to wrap it up. Looks like we got another episode in us yet before we're going to get to the end. I need to know how this is going to turn out, but we'll have to wait for one more day. Hope you guys enjoyed it, thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.